Today we're going to use point-slope form. In point-slope form, here's the equation for it. So when they give you a point and they give you a slope, we can write an equation with that. So here's an example. Write the point-slope form and the slope-intercept form of the line slope 4 that passes through -1, 3. So our point-slope form is we're going to take y and we're going to minus the y coordinate and we're going to make it equal to the slope times the x minus the x coordinate, which happens to be a -1. So when we put this in, we end up with that as our point slope form. So there's the answer to point slope. Now to get the slope intercept form, we need to get y by itself. So basically all we have to do is add 3 to this other side. So y equals, and we distribute, so it's 4x plus 4 plus 3, and when we put the 4 and 3 together because they're like terms, we get 7, and so we get our slope intercept form and we have our point slope form. So we are given 2 points this time, but we want to put it in point slope form and slope intercept. So point slope form, we need to find the slope first. So I'm going to take my -3 minus 6, that's my y's, and I'm going to take my 4 minus my -2, and when I do that I get -9 over 6, which my slope then is a -3/2. So that's my slope. So now I can take my point slope form and I'll write y minus, and I'm just going to pick this first point, y minus a -3 equals the slope, which is -3/2, x minus 4. And so there is my point slope form. Now, if we want to write it in slope intercept form, I'm going to take this, now this is really y plus 3, I'm going to subtract the 3 from both sides. So that gives me my y by itself. I have to distribute, or I can multiply everything by 2, because that's how we can get rid of fractions. So if I multiply everything by 2, I get a -3x plus 12, and that's multiplied by 2 is a -6. And if I combine my like terms, I get a +6. So there's my slope intercept form. So write in an equation that we want parallel. Parallel means same slope. So we need to find the slope of this equation, which slope is 2. Once we know the slope, then we can use point slope form. So I go y minus 1 equals my slope 2, and this is x minus a -3. So there it is in point slope form. Now let's change it to slope intercept. I add 1 to both sides. So I get y equals, and then I have to distribute, and that's a plus. So it becomes 6 plus 1. So y equals 2x plus 7. So there's my slope intercept form and my point slope form. The most difficult of problems is when we have to do perpendicular, because we have to flip and have the inverse for the slope. But we have an equation that's not in slope intercept form, so we need to rewrite this equation. So I'm going to rewrite this equation as 4y equals a -x plus 8, and I divide everything by 4, so I get it in -1/4 x plus 2. So my slope of this equation is -1/4. So I want to write an equation now in point slope form. So point slope form is this point and flipping this intercept. So I'm going to go y minus, and I'm just going to go ahead and change it to y plus 5. And then my slope has to change to a 4 with x minus 3. And the reason it's a 4 is that these two, if I want a perpendicular, have to be flipped and changed. So if it's a negative, it has to go to positive, and I have to flip it to 4 over 1. And then we can write this equation now in slope intercept form by subtracting 5 for 4x minus 3 minus 5, which then gives us y equals 4x minus 8. So here's our slope intercept form, here's our point slope form. that's perpendicular to this particular equation.